DeMar DeRozan went crazy. 54 points in the Drew League Championship game over the weekend. I'll share with you what you as a Kings fan should be taking away from that performance. Plus, what more can the Sacramento Kings ask of Domantas Sabonis? We'll touch on it right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all off-season long. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News. And even though we're in the middle of the deadest part of the basketball calendar, boy, did we have a fun weekend of basketball, right? We had the Team USA men beat France to win gold on Saturday when Steph Curry went absolutely crazy in the fourth quarter of that game. I know it's hard for some Kings fans to be able to root for Steph Curry. That was tremendously fun to watch, and it was fun to be on the right side of a Steph Curry big game and on the cheering side of a Steph Curry big game and kind of get a little bit of an understanding of what Warrior fans have gotten to take for granted Steph's entire career. And then on Sunday, you have the Team USA women also beating France in a game that went down to the wire. A'ja Wilson is unbelievable. So to be able to watch her play, a great weekend of Olympic basketball. And then on top of that, you had the Drew League Championship game, which takes place down in Southern California, and the Sacramento Kings' own DeMar DeRozan played in the Drew League, and he went nuts, right? Of course, we'll start with the numbers. We'll run through the numbers, but then we're going to talk about what's really important to take away from this game. 54 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists. DeMar led his team on an epic comeback. They were down by 25 points at one point in this game. He brings them all the way back to where they win the championship in overtime. Kings fans were kind of used to that a little bit. Remember, he brought the Bulls back from 20 points down in the fourth quarter in Sacramento last season, and DeMar was the man in that game as well. So the Kings have been on the wrong side of it. It's now fun to see him do it when we know he's going to be suiting up and wearing a Kings uniform here in the very near future. But look, the numbers are great, but the Drew League is a pro-am, right? This is and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but for the analogy, this is men playing amongst boys. This is an NBA star, in my opinion, a future Hall of Famer playing against guys who at best are G League players, at the very, very best, but most of them work other 9-to-5s, do other things, and they ball on the side. They're good players, right? It was a high-quality game, a high-quality level of basketball. But this isn't like DeMar DeRozan dropped 54 points in an Olympic competition or against NBA-caliber teams. I'm not saying that to undermine anything of what DeMar DeRozan did. Some people are doing that on social media. Ignore those people. Who cares, right? We all know that DeMar DeRozan is not playing against NBA caliber talent when he's dropping 54 points. Now, we all know he's capable of dropping 54 on any given night in the NBA if he wants to and if he has a big game. He's done it before. He can certainly do it again. But this game is not about the numbers that he put up, even though the 54 is what jumps on off the page. You can go onto YouTube right now, and I highly encourage you to do it, maybe after this podcast is done. Look up, just type in DeMar DeRozan Drew League. You will find highlights, extended highlights of this game. Watch DeMar DeRozan closely. Don't pay attention to the points. Don't pay attention to the numbers. In fact, it's good in these highlights that you don't really have a context of what's going on in the game. Just look at it individually, play by play, when DeMar DeRozan goes to work on both the offensive and defensive side of the floor. There's, of course, a ton of good. There's a little bit of bad, too. I watched the highlights of this game, and I had a notepad in front of me, and I just jotted down notes, right? Jotted down notes of just different things that I noticed. These are the things that hopefully you will see if you go back and look at these highlights, and you'll even draw your own conclusions. But these are the biggest takeaways that I had that Kings fans should be looking at that go just beyond the numbers, right? That goes beyond the, it doesn't matter who he was playing. Because these are showcasing, this is showcasing an opportunity for DeMar to showcase who he is as a basketball player and the type of player that he can be and hopefully will be for the Sacramento Kings. Number one, his mid-range turnaround jumper is unguardable. Completely unguardable. He gets that ball, whether it's on the elbow, on the block, doesn't matter where he gets it. If he's in the mid-range and he has his back to the basket, good freaking luck. Really, if DeMar DeRozan is going to take that turnaround jumper, all you can do as a defense is try and contest as best as you possibly can and basically just hope he misses. It's a very difficult shot. Like, if you go to your park or you go to your gym or wherever you have a basketball hoop available and you try and replicate that turnaround jumper by yourself with nobody in the gym, it's an unbelievably difficult shot to hit because you have to understand where you're at, get a brief glimpse of the rim while turning, and then get that ball on line and knock it down, right? DeMar has mastered it. It's an unguardable shot, and he showed it off a number of times in the Drew League. It's something that we're going to see a number of times in a Kings uniform this season. This is a big deal that I think I touched on a little bit earlier when I had a podcast, when I was sharing with you the conversation that I had with an NBA assistant coach who was telling me all the great things that DeMar is bringing to Sacramento. But seeing it in the Drew League, DeMar does not need a lot of space to cook. He doesn't. I know spacing is a concern. There's questions about spacing in Sacramento. He does not need a lot of space to cook. In this game, he is above and beyond the best player on the floor. And of course, he is the number one focus for the opposing team's defense, right? He's the man. They know where the ball is going, so they have to try and stop him. He's not surrounded on his Drew League team by the same amount of shooting that he's going to have here in Sacramento. So the spacing in the Drew League is even worse because defenders don't mind leaving their guy on the perimeter and daring them to beat him to go and try and double or even triple team the All-NBA superstar player who's going to look to get his shots up, right? He faced double teams, triple teams, no problem. Again, the double teams and triple teams at the NBA level are going to be better than the double teams and triple teams that he's facing in the Drew League, of course. However, he's going to have a Fox or a Sabonis or a Keegan or a Malik or a Kevin Huerter. Need I go on? All these guys that are going to be out there with him that when he is double and triple teamed, he'll be able to find them. It's one of the most underrated skills that he has on the offensive end. His ability as a passer to make the right read, make the right decision, find the open man when that double team and even triple team comes. There's a play that I watched like 3 or 4 times in a row where he attacks, right? He's on the top of the perimeter, puts the ball on the floor, attacks, gets by one defender. 2 come and collapse, and then his defender that was on him recovers. So he's cut off on his lane to the rim by 2 different guys, and then the guy that was initially on him that was on his hip recovers and somewhat gets in front of him. He stops, controls his dribble, stays patient, picks up his dribble then, does an up and under move, splits 2 defenders, and goes up for the easy layup at the rim, right? Just makes smart decisions, does not panic, and does not freak out when a second or third defender comes to help on him. And you need to send somebody to help on him when he gets that step. I also noticed too, defenses are giving him space on the perimeter, right? Because the biggest weakness of his game offensively is his three-point shot. Now, he's capable of hitting threes, and he did so in this game. We'll talk about those in a second. But defenders are already playing off of him on the perimeter. And he still is able to put the ball on the floor. They take a step back to try and recover and cut him off from getting to what I think is his favorite spot on the floor, which is around that elbow, the elbow of the paint. And as they're backpedaling, he steps in about a foot inside the three-point line. Easy pull-up mid-range jumper. That's cash for him all day, right? He's unbelievably difficult to defend, even with the space that you can get away with giving him on the perimeter. He also just makes the right decisions with the basketball. If he has advantages, he attacks them. If he faces a double team that does cut him off, he doesn't force anything. He doesn't force his dribble. He doesn't force shots. He moves the ball, makes the right reads, and makes the right decision. He's also very crafty at drawing fouls. This is something I noticed a lot in the Drew League, and it's going to also happen, I think, at the NBA level. If guys are sitting on his hip, which is pretty good defensive position, kind of sitting on his hip, right? And they know that he's capable of pulling up at any time. So they have their hand kind of in a ready position to slap that ball away, or at the very least, play low to cut off any potential crossover dribble or to cut off any potential passing lane, right? It's a pretty common standard defensive stance, right? But if you have your hand out in front of him in any, like inside, in any way that he can create contact, he's going to do it and he's going to exploit it. He is a man that is very, very crafty, very good at recognizing you're reaching a little too far in. I'm going to go up, I'm going to draw the foul, try and finish through the contact, but I'm going to go to the foul line. And when he goes to the foul line, he's clutch. In fact, he hit a pair of free throws at the very end of the game to go from down 1 to up 1, which eventually won the game. He won the game for his Drew League team at the free throw line, hitting clutch free throws considering the Kings were amongst the worst, if not the worst free throw shooting team last season. That's a breath of fresh air to see as well. On the defensive end, I'll be honest with you, he didn't make the best decisions on defense. Like there were a couple of plays where he tried to help defensively, but you could tell because it's the Drew League, he didn't fully commit to it. So he stepped in to kind of be there, but didn't be there, like didn't get on top of the ball carrier or really truly attack the double team or try and cut off the pass or whatever the case may be. He moves in, but he doesn't fully commit to it. But he still moves in far enough to where his opponent or his man, the guy he's guarding, is open on the perimeter, and there were a couple times kick out, wide open, splash 3. Defensively, we know DeMar DeRozan is not the best defender. But also, I'm not trying to read too far into this, just like people aren't giving him a lot of credit for what he does on the offensive end. Drew League, when you're a superstar, when you're an NBA player playing in the Drew League, it's a showcase opportunity, right? Defensively, you might try for a couple of possessions down the stretch, and he did when this game was close, but I'm not going to dissect and break down his defensive mistakes in a Drew League game as if he was giving 110% on defense, like I believe he will. Not all the time at the NBA level here in Sacramento, but when it matters, he will here in Sacramento because that's the standard that Mike Brown holds. But defensively, of course, things could have been better. And then the three-point shots, right? Threes are not his bag. He's fine at them, but he's not a weapon from three-point range. He's not a guy that you have to be overly concerned about. However, he's more than capable of hitting the shots, and we know how clutch DeMar DeRozan is. If you need a 3 in the clutch, DeMar has no problem going and getting it for you. He hit a pair of clutch threes to close that big gap late when his team was down by double digits with like 5 or so minutes remaining. He hit a couple of big threes, including a 3 off of a miss where he just full speed, pulled up in transition, nothing but net. So when you need a big shot from three-point range, DeMar DeRozan is more than capable of hitting it. But those are the things that I took away, that I noticed from his Drew League 54-point performance. Again, go and watch the highlights for yourself and let me know what you take away from that great game. Today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home some huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. So a couple weeks ago now, we had a conversation here on Locked On Kings about Domantas Sabonis. This is the first year of his new contract with the Kings, where he's going to be paid over $40 million a year. When your money goes up, a lot of people think so do your expectations. Domantas Sabonis is being paid for what he already has done and is therefore expected to continue to do. Sabonis was underpaid over the last 2 seasons for the type of player that he is and the numbers that he was putting up. So make sure you understand that first and foremost, right? Just because Sabonis got a major raise and is paid $40+ million a year doesn't mean that he needs to make a significant $40 million per year jump from what he was already doing, right? You are paying for the player that he is. So the expectations for Sabonis are really to, in many ways, stay the course. The question is, how much more, realistically, how much more can the Sacramento Kings truly ask of Sabonis? Because if we're being honest, to ask him to be more than what he's been, the league leader in rebounding for 2 straight years, one of the best passers and assisters in the league, period, not just at the center position over the past 2 years. The foundation of your offense, the double-double king, the second player in the league in triple-double, someone who fills up the stat sheet. To ask him to be more than that, I don't think that's realistic or maybe even fair. Now, there are specific things that you can ask of him. In fact, I've come up with 3 things that I think the Kings can and are asking of Domantas Sabonis this upcoming season. Number 1, be more of the same. Keep doing what you're doing, big man, right? If you can be a 3-time league-leading rebounder and rebound king, phenomenal. You should be in the top 2, top 3. That's one of the main things you're being paid for. Continue to be the same. There can't be a drop-off now that you've gotten paid. And there certainly can't be a drop-off now that DeMar DeRozan or other guys are here, right? The best version of the Sacramento Kings features Domantas Sabonis being an absolute boon for fantasy owners who love the stats and numbers that he puts up, but for him to continue to be the winning player that he's been over the last 2 seasons that he's been here in Sacramento. So really, it's more of the same. Facilitate the offense, grab rebounds, fill up stat sheets, defensively, stay out of foul trouble. That is what you're asking. That's number 1 of what you're asking for Domantas Sabonis. Just keep being the same guy. Keep making the same impact. But there's 2 things that the Kings can ask for more of. Number 1, shoot the damn ball. If you have an open look that defenses are going to give to you until you show them that you can hit that shot at a consistent rate. And it's actually not that Sabonis was inconsistent with that shot in terms of percentages. It's that he just didn't take them, right? Sabonis had one of the best years of his career percentage-wise from the mid-range last season. One of the best of his career, but he did not take that shot enough, even with defenses continuing to give it to him. I know his first impulse is, let me find the open man, let me run this offense, let's get that read and react, and let's find somebody that I can get the ball to put them in the best position to succeed. Sabonis has the self-awareness to know that there are more players on this roster that are better options at putting the ball in the basket than he is. That being said, the team needs him to put the ball in the basket too. He still averaged over 20 points per game, a lot of those points in the trenches, right? Around the rim, finishing at the rim or off of the pick and roll. But Sabonis is going to get those mid-range jumpers. He needs to take them. And then the three-point shot too. He shot 37% from three-point range last season, but he only took 1 attempt a game. Shoot it. I don't even care if the percentage goes down. In fact, if you shot 2 to 3 attempts per game and the percentage dropped to 34, 35%, I think you are a better, more impactful offensive player for the Sacramento Kings. So the Kings should be asking Domantas Sabonis to shoot the ball more. I already know Mike Brown has given him the green light. If you have it and it's open, take it. And he's told that to a lot of different people, not just Domas. But Domas needs to have the courage and the confidence to take it if it's there. And that kind of leads into the third thing, which we didn't get to see last season. Number 3 of what the Kings can ask more of from Domantas Sabonis. Hey, the guy you are during the regular season, the rebound king, the triple-doubles, the double-doubles, those are freaking fantastic. Do it in the postseason too. When the Kings get back to the playoffs, not if, when the Kings get back to the playoffs this year, Domantas Sabonis, of course, has to be better than the way he played in not last season's playoffs, but the playoffs before against the Golden State Warriors, right? Where he still didn't play bad, but we know he could have played significantly better. That's what the Kings are going to ask of. Hey, we know you can be this guy all season long. That's why we love you. That's why we paid you. Of course. But we still want it at that level. It doesn't even have to go to another level. Just keep it at that level throughout the playoffs, because that's why you have Fox to take it to another level, Malik to take it to another level, now DeMar DeRozan to take it to another level, and hopefully Keegan on top of that. If Domantas Sabonis can be every single night the double-double and triple-double threat, leading the league in reboundings that he was last season throughout the postseason, there's nothing to be concerned about. There's really nothing to be critical about unless you get very situational, where it's, hey, there's 10 seconds left and I don't feel like my $40 million player is the guy to go and get the ball in that spot. Well, maybe he will be, because maybe he gets an offensive rebound and a put-back tip in, and then we're all celebrating him for it, right? Or maybe he goes anti-Vlade Divac. Sorry to talk about a painful wound here, but if it's 2002 and Domantas Sabonis is in there instead of Vlade Divac, maybe Domantas Sabonis just goes up and grabs the damn ball instead of tipping it out to Robert Horry. That's a way that he can still be the guy in those moments. The Kings just need him to step up when they get there. He's going to help them get there, of course, but when they're there can't be a drop-off. If that's what you get, he's more than worth the $40 million that you're paying him, and that's really all that you can ask of him this season. If you think the Kings should be asking more of him, let me know at MattGeorgeSack on Twitter. Email me, mattgeorgesports@gmail.com, or leave your thoughts in the YouTube comment section down below. Finally, we had a little bit of a surprise report today from friend of the show, Sacktown Sports 1140 Zone, Frankie Cardicelli. Love Frankie's phenomenal Sacramento Kings media member and reporter. If you don't follow him and get your Kings content from him, you absolutely should. Frankie got word that the Sacramento Kings are going to be opening up their season on October 24th, which is a Thursday night, at home inside the Golden One Center against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, nothing's been released by the NBA. Nothing's been confirmed by the NBA. Nothing's been confirmed by the Sacramento Kings. So, as of now, we have to take Frankie at his word and at his reporting. And I can tell you, I can speak for Frankie's character. Frankie does not put this stuff out there unless he is supremely confident in this information. So I believe this is 100% true, 100% correct. And good on Frankie for getting this information. So fans should believe with confidence that October 24th, we will have the season opener inside the Golden One Center against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So what do we think of that matchup? Well, a couple things. Number one, it's an opportunity right off the bat to see how the Kings stack up against the best in the West, right? I think there is a clear top tier in the Western Conference. The Timberwolves are part of that tier. Timberwolves, Thunder, probably the Dallas Mavericks, and probably the Denver Nuggets. That's the top. The second tier is loaded with teams, including the Sacramento Kings, of course. How do the Kings stack up against a Timberwolves team that they had success against last season? But we know the Timberwolves made a deep playoff run. Of course, the Kings did not. And with how crazy challenging the West is expected to be again, can the Kings get off on the right foot? Remember, we talked about recently how important it is for Sacramento to defend home floor, and it doesn't matter who they're playing on their home floor, whether it's a better team or a worse team, they need to play the same way, and they need to be expected to win every time they take the floor inside the Golden One Center. You're thrown to the Wolves, literally, right away. Thrown to the T-Wolves right away. How do you fare against one of the best teams in the West? I'm excited about that. It's an opportunity for Sacramento to show DeMar DeRozan to start the season who he's joined, right? Welcome to Sacramento, my man. Here's the atmosphere. That's going to be fun. And then I can't help but think about Malik Monk, right? Malik Monk revenge game? Not that he used to play for the Timberwolves, but Naz Reid on the Timberwolves won Sixth Man of the Year over him. I think Naz Reid won that award. Not that he wasn't deserving of that award. I think Naz Reid won that award because of how well his team played. I also think Naz Reid won that award because of some of the numbers that he put up when he actually got the opportunity to start for that team, which is against the whole purpose of the award. And I also think the Timberwolves did a fantastic job campaigning for Naz Reid to win that award. Malik should have won it. There was not a better sixth man last season than Malik Monk, period, end of story. Now, I'm of the belief that Malik Monk should be starting for the Kings on opening night. I don't know if I'm alone in that belief, but I'd say the odds are that he will continue to come off the bench for Sacramento, considering that's been Mike Brown's plan with him to this point. Regardless, Malik is not afraid to play with a chip on his shoulder. So maybe a bit of an opportunity for Malik to get a little bit of revenge against the sixth man of the year that was apparently better than him in the voters' eyes. Oh, yeah, I'm expecting some big things from Malik Monk, too, on October 24th. Oh, it's still so far away. October 24th. So far away. We're not even to August 24th yet. We're halfway to August 24th. It's August 12th. God, we still have so long to go until opening night. But it'll be here before we know it. We'll get the full NBA schedule before we know it, so we'll be able to break down every single game and all the trends from the NBA schedule. I'm looking forward to that. More great content coming for you here to help us get through this offseason together. Appreciate your support as always. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode of Locked On Kings. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to the Locked On Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.